I mean, if you're a Bears fan, you're thinking forward progress. Come on.
10, 219, 219.
Forward Progress, a Chicago Bears podcast with Dan Bernstein and Matt Abaticola on 312 Sports.
You are hereby given Forward Progress on 312 Sports, and we talk Chicago Bears and NFL here, and we are coming off of the Bears putting a little bit of closure on their season with what was a fairly uneventful, quick postseason press conference, and it's nice that there really wasn't a whole lot of news coming out of there other than the declaration by Ben Johnson that last year was last year, and they are already on to 2026 and beginning to start from scratch to try to do better. So
because 2025 was not good enough.
Nope.
Just that simple.
Nope. It was a blast. We all had fun. But it's enough of that, because now they got to sit down on their respective couches and watch other teams competing for bigger things this weekend in the championship games, for many the best weekend of NFL football. A lot of us were watching a lot of these games, man. Did you see this number that the Bears and the Rams drew an audience of 45.4 million on average on NBC and Peacock, with the peak at 52.6 million, the biggest division round number for NBC since 1988.
88.
It beat the prior high watermark was Oilers Chiefs of January 94 by more than 4 million viewers. And what this tells me is that if you're a Chicago Bears fan, get ready for some late nights next season.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think the week before against the Packers, it was the most streamed NFL game ever. The viewership for the Bears-Packers game in the wild card round. So, yes, I would anticipate lots of island games, night games, featured games. I would also begin planning accordingly for your Thanksgiving Day holiday.
Mm-hmm.
I would guess the Bears would play the Lions that day. There's a story to be told there. Ben Johnson, and Dan Campbell, as the Lions took 2 from the Lions from the Bears this year. So I would think that there were that early game on Thanksgiving too. So if you're having people over or going somewhere, make sure it's later in the day.
And I'll say this, that I generally don't get into schedule release day the way that some have in the past with what this team's social media staffs do with the various videos. And for the first time in a long time, I'm invested in schedule release day. I care because of what we're doing now in our schedule and the amount of time professionally that we have devoted to the Chicago Bears and what I expect them to be next year, that when we start talking about where we're going to be and what we're going to do and how we do it, I'm all in for schedule release day this year. We know the combatants, we know the teams on their schedule. We just don't know when
they're beating them to go 13-4 next year.
You're sticking with that. Okay. Yep. All right. That's your prediction. I haven't looked at the props yet because I'm going to wait for tomorrow when we do our DBU picks. All I'm thinking about is the performance of my guy, Jarrett Stidham, and whether or not he's going to be trusted for the Broncos to climb on his ample shoulders so he can throw them to victory.
Okay.
Okay.
You do that. Good luck with that, by the way.
I just might.
Good luck with that.
I just might do that.
It's going to be nasty, nasty weather in New England.
Is it?
Oh, yeah. It's going to be bad.
Yeah, but Jarrett Stidham loves nasty weather or something. I don't know. I made that up.
I hope so, because he's going to need to play well in shitty weather, because it's going to be awful.
Yeah, it's going to be cold. It's all right.
They're just lucky there's no NFL games in Mississippi this weekend.
That's okay. No matter what, I'm just going to have enough cayenne pepper in my socks that I'm going to be fine. In my the poofy socks I got from Walgreens. I have
one of our commenters
stole a pair. Zoe stole the polka dot ones.
Buddy, they're lady socks. I told you that was going to happen.
But she took the polka dot ones.
And there was a fair question. Were they like crew socks or were they ankle socks?
They're ankles. They go up about halfway up.
So more than ankle.
They're not like over the calf. They're about halfway up the calf.
Okay.
Why?
Yeah. So yeah, because I was just wondering. Somebody asked on the YouTube comments if they were, ankle or like regular crew socks, and yeah, I told you that the ladies of your home are going to steal the ladies' socks that you purchased.
Beth won't steal them, and I think if I wear them, no one will touch them. They'll only touch them with like tongs or surgical instruments or something, or like a one of those snake sticks. What do they call that? The metal stick with the right angled bend at the end that they use for transporting like venomous snakes.
That's you use one of those, or like one of those things you use for like a really angry rabid dog. They have those big. And then they tighten up the little loop around your sock to throw it across the room.
Yep, I know exactly what you mean. Yes.
Yeah, one of our another YouTube commenter said that maybe for the storm down south they can just shoot big piles of cayenne pepper into the air to combat the
It'll keep warm.
Ice and storm. Yeah,
we know that. We know it will. Yeah. So yeah, it's called a snake hook, I guess. Okay. A snake hook. There's a guy I watch on Instagram, Bruce the Snake Wrangler. He's great, and he's always being called into houses to find rattlesnakes that have gotten into the backyard and underneath the planters. It's very cool.
Yeah, that's what's like Florida too. Gators, you got gators in your home. You got snakes.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona, like you open a cabinet and there's like a fucking scorpion sitting there staring at you.
And members of the Scorpions.
Yeah, not interested in that at all.
They're there. German rock and rollers. You got to be really careful.
Just fall out of your kitchen cabinets.
Yeah, they land there. So where are we with as far as any roster moves with the Bears right now? When are things going to happen? How quickly does this start going on? When do we start hearing about like reserve futures contracts? Or we know which contracts are up, but we don't know if and when any moves are coming. The players may know from exit meetings. They may know if they say, look, we intend to bring you back, or go ahead and see what kind of offers you get, but make sure you call us. So they've probably told the guys how they feel about them and whether or not they're part of the plans next year. But all we have are this list of names. Want me to go through it?
Yeah, wait, I'm just looking up. I'm sorry, because you did ask about future reserves.
Yeah, the reserve
contract.
Future
so
contract.
They did sign.
Okay. All right. Any names we know?
They did sign 14 players already. Yeah.
But it's probably some of those are all like there's administrative moves that they have to make just to retain rights on guys, and a lot of those other deals are like for Canadian League players and such who aren't necessarily under any other deal for reserve futures.
Yeah, but apparently they'd already signed 14 guys from the 2025 season. So Maurice Alexander, Britton Brown, Steven Carlson, Luke Elkin, Dallas Flowers, Jonathan Garvin, Dominic Hampton, Kyle Hergel, your tight end, Nikola Kalinick.
Yes, we saw him.
Dante Manning, Jeremiah Martin, Gervarius Owens, J.P. Richardson, and Nephi Sewell.
Okay, so these are all practice squad or outside the practice squad guys that they can at least have first rights of refusal on, I believe.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
So Over the Cap has provided this list of their current free agents. There are unrestricted free agents. There are restricted free agents. There's one exclusive rights free agent, and then there are what they call street free agents.
Okay.
So the important names here, let's start with the unrestricted. Again, this all comes from Over the Cap. Unrestricted free agents right now. These are players with 4 or more accrued seasons and an expired contract. They can negotiate and sign with any team at the start of free agency. The Bears are allowed to negotiate with them before they hit free agency. All right? Case Keenum, Durham Smythe, Travis Homer, Olamide Zaccheaus, Devin Duvernay, Braxton Jones, Ryan Bates, Scott Daly, Jaquan Brisker, Kevin Byard, and Elijah Hicks. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Jonathan Owens, DeMarco Jackson, Jalen Reeves-Maben, Nashawn Wright, Jalen Jones, Nick McLeod, Chris Williams, Andrew Billings, Dominique Robinson and Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. It's a
Okay.
big list of UFAs.
Yes, it is.
And I guess my first instinct is to really not say, yes, no, maybe on any of these, because we don't know what the alternatives might be, at what price, with the ages, the abilities, etc. My guess is they'll bring back their long snapper. I don't know if they plan to make any kind of upgrade at emergency quarterback like Case Keenum, or do they want him sticking around and helping out? But as far as their I don't know, I don't have real strong feelings other than Brisker and Byard, because you're talking about both your starting safeties, and Nashawn Wright would be the next big name there. I think as much as we love Andrew Billings, that he's probably gone, and maybe Dominique Robinson did enough at the end of the year to merit an opportunity to return. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I wrote down 5 names as you were going through that list: Brisker, Byard, Dom Robb, Daly, and Nashawn Wright. Oh, I also forgot. I would consider what they could do contract-wise with DeMarco Jackson as well, too. Because he played really, really well, and he was really good in coverage. Yeah. And I wonder if he had a starting role, what that might do to elevate his game a bit, too.
I do not want to overpay Nashawn Wright. I don't know what the market is going to bring. I don't know if anybody is going to look at an outlier statistical season and think that is going to be repeatable, and the market's going to tell us that. I wouldn't mind having Nashawn Wright. I'm not sure I want to go into next year with him as a starter.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to break the bank to keep him. Obviously you have the opportunity, as you mentioned, to negotiate and talk before free agency. I also wouldn't be opposed to allowing him to see what happens in free agency.
What is the health situation with Terrell Smith? I got to know that first, about how he's coming back, because when this year began, now I should use the Bears vernacular. Last year began. When last year began, Terrell Smith was that next guy. He was the guy they were excited about finding series for, finding snaps for, as if not a starter, somebody who was going to play every game for them in something other than just a next man up reserve role. They thought that he could essentially start for some other teams around the league. They were just that deep. And if they think he's coming back to himself, they might, that upgrade over Nashawn Wright potentially is internal, depending on how big a contract offer he gets. But otherwise, you're going to have a lot of money committed at that position. And then safety, if you had to pick one between Brisker and Byard, I think you got to go younger.
Yeah, I would have to pick Brisker. As much as I would not want to lose like his leadership and, knowing the defense, the durability, always being out there, the way he carries himself as a teammate and also in front of the cameras for the organization.
And being all-pro this year.
If I'm forced to pick one of the two, I would pick Brisker, yes.
But he's 30. Yeah, Byard is 32. Like, at some point, that drop-off is going to happen. It did not happen this year, and maybe you just count that as some good fortune and say, look, they got an all-pro year out of this guy where he was one of the best 2 safeties in the entire NFL, but paying him for the future may not necessarily be wise. I think that would be defensible.
Yeah, no, again, if you're forced between one of the two, I certainly would love to have both guys back, but it would have to be very smart and reasonable and financially responsible as well.
Okay, who else on this list? Every name elicits some kind of feeling. I know we saw a lot of Durham Smythe, but that doesn't mean there isn't an upgrade possible there. Olamide Zaccheaus, okay, and Duvernay. Maybe there's a guy who can handle both of those roles rather than have. It would be more efficient roster-wise to have a backup wideout who was also your number one returner.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards finding another option for both those guys.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I would like to upgrade in the return game with more consistency, and I would like to upgrade in the bottom of your wide receiver list with a little more consistency and maybe the opportunity, given plays to make plays like Ja'Day Walker did. He took advantage of the limited opportunities that he had. Certainly wasn't a complete product by any stretch of the imagination, but when he was out there, he took advantage of it. And I just think OZ dropped more and left more to be taken on the field than he provided. And Duvernay, I think you can upgrade that return position, and then certainly in the receiving game, he wasn't a factor at all. So I think you can upgrade both there. I'm not, would I be upset if they're back? Just like Durham Smythe, I wouldn't be mad about it, but I think you could do better for the limited role that they ask of those guys. Limited, and I know Duvernay is your main return guy. I know that's not a limited role, but he's very, very a specialty player there, and I think you can upgrade that really easily.
A name that was sent in to us as a possibility maybe for both spots is Khalif Raymond from the Lions, who was their primary punt returner, was backup wide receiver, had kick returns as well, on the smaller side at 5'8", but and he's 5'8" with a long neck, so he's probably functionally considerably shorter than that, but he's at 180 pounds and with a long time in Ben Johnson's offense, because he had been with Detroit since 2021. And he's going to be 32 years old, but that's a possibility.
Yeah, there's also a guy in that futures and that reserves contracts, Dallas Flowers, who's a guy, defensive back. I think he got in for a snap or two in the Cowboys game, but he was a return guy too in college. And I don't know how he's developing or growing, or if there's any possibility there. If you're trying to look at a more like financially reasonable position, a guy like that could maybe improve or help your return game at all. But yeah, I wouldn't be mad about it. I think Zacchaeus, I'm kind of good on. I'm ready to not see Zacchaeus out there again. Duvernay, if that's the guy you think that is the best option we have, I'm not going to be mad about it, but I think you can improve there.
As far as restricted free agents, and these are players who have 3 seasons and an expired deal, which means they're allowed to negotiate and sign anywhere. Bears can offer a tender, and they can match. There's only 2. There is somebody who was thrust into the spotlight in the final game and apparently was hurt during that game. Jordan McFadden is one of those, and the other is Daniel Hardy, who is a core special teamer who's been an edge, a linebacker, and at times this year a fullback for the Bears. So the versatile Daniel Hardy is a restricted free agent. You don't have to do anything there. You can just see if they get an offer and then make your decision.
Right. Yeah, again, I mean, he's a guy, if you're looking at a roster, he's down towards the bottom of that roster, but he's a guy that can fill a lot of different holes for you. But he's just a guy. Yeah, so I think nothing to be really concerned about there.
Exclusive rights free agent there's one, Theo Benedict, and that just means that he's had fewer than his 3 seasons. His deal's up, and if the Bears offer him a 1-year deal, he can't negotiate with other teams. So if they want to bring Theo Benedict back, they can. I'm sure they will. I think they've probably
what purpose, though?
I think they've invested a lot in his development, and the fact that he was included as a tight end, that they did look at him maybe as like, what's the guy's name? Dan Skipper? Is that the big dude on the Lions that Ben Johnson always liked to have? Yeah. I'm not saying that Benedict's going to have his same role this year as a primary swing tackle, but certainly maybe worth having on the roster if they give him an offer at the league minimum.
Yeah, but if he can't fill a role for you of playing tackle because the competition is going to be too tough, then I don't want him on the roster.
Yeah, but we hear that every year for the team. The competition has never been tougher to make this team a hard team to make. They were saying that before 2 seasons.
No, I don't mean like internal competition. I mean the external guys you're playing. And he clearly wasn't good enough to play tackle this past weekend, so I don't want him on the roster. Then do away with him. Because if he can't fill a need, you have a glaring need in front of you, and you'd rather make alterations on your offensive line. I don't have a use for him for taking up a roster spot. And I'm not saying that he couldn't play it, but based on the decision they did and what they showed me against the Rams, he wasn't good enough to play in this game. And we'd rather have a guy who didn't take any snaps play guard for us and move our guard to tackle, then he shouldn't be there. That's what I think.
They have 3 what are called just street free agents, and these are players out of contract and are unfettered. They can sign with any team immediately. All 3 of these guys ended the season on the practice squad IL.
Okay.
And that's Ricky Stromberg, an offensive lineman, linebacker Ty Summers. And I didn't even know the Bears had wide receiver Kadir Ismail. It's the son of Quadri Ismail.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea.
I saw that name, and I saw it like that has to be a relative. And yeah, Qadri Ismail's son, Kadir, was a wide receiver on the Bears practice squad who finished on the injured list.
I did not know that.
Okay. All right. Well, he can sign with anybody, anywhere. Good luck to him. Yeah, there's nothing here that really is of massive concern other than just making sure you make the right call on your safeties.
Yeah, I agree. And and I wonder with the move of Theo Benedict not playing, with Ozzy Trapilo, as the GM told us yesterday, that his timetable is deep into next year. That's what he said, quote, deep into next year, end quote. Does that put offensive line at a higher priority in the draft than maybe it was a few weeks ago?
Yes, is the short answer. Unless they think that they have something in McFadden, if they've found some materials that are more developable than they thought with higher upside than they thought. If you want talent, you find it in the draft.
Or do they look at free agency for left tackle?
Well, let me ask you this. With Braxton Jones being a free agent, with all the starts that he's had, don't you think other teams would look at that right now? If we do this whole grass is greener thing, and you were looking at somebody go, geez, this guy was a starter there. Why couldn't he be a swing guy? But yet we know this coaching staff does not like Braxton Jones.
No, they don't. Otherwise, he would have played.
I wonder if they had a chance to trade him, because that would be that's a perfect example of somebody just not being what this group looks for. His ability to anchor, his ability to by himself be able to at least cancel somebody out on most plays. And this is the same group that thought enough of the significance of the position. And I know you're stuck on this, and I'm not just sort of picking at a scab here, but to move Joe Thuney out to left tackle when they did, that left tackle matters to Ben Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
It is that important to make sure that you can stymie some of the best rushers to at least be formidable enough to not need constant help. That's really important to him.
Well, then what they showed me this year is that is going to be a main priority then. That's going to be solving that position with Ozzy Trapilo not back until deep into next year. And when he does get back and is able to play and perform, we don't know at what level that will be with that given injury. But, I mean, he's not part of your – you cannot look at Ozzy Trapilo as part of your 2026 season. You can't.
No, I'm not.
Like, you have to act like he's not even there right now. So what are you going to do? How are you going to address left tackle? Because it's currently not on the roster.
Well, it's a good question for him because I think it's seeing what is available. If you're talking about old, like they could actually, it wouldn't be out of the realm of reason to take a stab at someone in their early 30s just because it's going to time up with Thuney. And if you're going to try to win a Super Bowl in the next 3 years, it wouldn't make me mad if they found a vet, because that is a position at which you can sustain your ability as you age more so than other skill positions. We saw what Jason Peters did here. We've seen guys in the final act of their careers remain valuable and formidable.
All right, just looking at some unrestricted free agents at the position. Cam Robinson in Cleveland.
Okay.
Kelvin Beachum from Arizona. He's 36. Cam Robinson is 30.
Okay.
Andrew Wiley, 31.
I wouldn't even know without diving into to some of these PFF grades and the
No, I'm just trying to
continuum
look up
of pass
names that,
versus run ability, the way their skills would mix up and where they'd fit in a primary outside zone scheme. You have guys that have just been running different stuff, but yeah, left tackle is something to circle, and we're going to be talking a lot about it.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot.
Yeah, because like as I said, that guy right now is not on your roster. Given that you cannot look at Ozzy Trapilo for the 2026 season.
Correct.
That guy right now is not on your roster, so they're going to have to address that. And that's got to be a priority. It has to be.
It's too bad because, finite amount of cap space. Although we're going to believe forward progress every day. We've got a lot of offseason to do a lot of this when it comes to finding this money. And there's already people hunting around saying, well, if you move DJ Moore, here's all this money and you can do this and that. But let's just slow our roll a little bit and we'll handle this. I don't want to it's real easy to get sped up. And to get too far ahead than where I think they probably are right now. I think they're going to finish the exit interviews. I know they're going to watch every play again. That's one thing they're going to do is what you can't do during the season is actually take all that time to go through every bit of tape, even practice tape, find out what they missed, reevaluate their own guys before making some of these decisions.
All right, I got something here for you. I thought this was interesting. I came across it on ESPN. Seth Walder wrote this on ESPN, and it is the top 100 real NFL MVP candidates for the 2025 season. So obviously this is all his opinion.
Real MVP candidates. What does that mean?
So here's what he did. In this exercise, we're measuring player value relative to average at respective positions.
All right, so
to evaluate players, I rely on a variety of sources, statistics, quantitative metrics, awards such as All-Pro Team, feedback from NFL front office personnel, and colleagues at ESPN.
So VOA, value above average. It isn't value above replacement player.
Right.
Because a replacement player is significantly less than average at the position. Value above average at the position.
So this Seth Walder, he says, so let's dive into the 100-player ballot, starting with my real pick for MVP. So his number one player is Drake May.
Okay, can I ask another question here?
Yes, sir.
I don't want to over Bernstein this, but I can't help myself. Does he rank and does he adjust for the importance of a given position?
Yes. Yeah, and he said that's why you'll see more quarterbacks higher because of the position. Right.
Okay.
So number one for him was Drake May. Number two was Dak Prescott.
Wow.
Number three, Matthew Stafford. Number four, Josh Allen. 5, Jordan Love. 6, Patrick Mahomes. 7, Justin Herbert. Number 8 was Jackson Smith Njigba from the Seahawks. Number 9, Puka Nacua. And number 10 was Myles Garrett.
Wow.
Those are his top 10.
Okay. I'm certainly not going to
No. I mean, yeah, but here's what I did. So I started
Okay.
scrolling through. When do you think the first Chicago Bears shows up on his list?
In the top 100?
Yeah.
For this year's performance only.
2025.
This is simply based on what they actually did this year. This is not a ranking of who you would want for next year. It is just what they did on the field.
He's voting. So they say that, hey, here's a ballot. Fill out your top 100 MVP players. When does the first Bear show up?
And he's got positional. So even though I think the Bears' best player is Joe Tooney, I would think that by these rankings, he's probably, even though he's better at his position, its left guard is nowhere near as important a position as others. I'm going to say Caleb Williams shows up somewhere in the 20s.
The first Chicago Bear to show up comes up at number 41.
Wow. And it's not Caleb?
And it's Darnell Wright.
Okay.
All right, now we drop 3 slots to 44, and there's your second Chicago Bear. Any guesses?
Byard.
Joe Thuney.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're at 44. So now we have 45 through 100. When do you think the next Chicago Bear shows up? 45 to 100.
The fact that you're asking me now, I'm gaming it. To be honest, now I'm going to game it, and I'm going to say 66.
You'd be incorrect. Guess again.
Is it closer to 100?
Guess again.
80.
Guess again.
90.
Guess again.
98.
That is it. There is no other Chicago Bear on the list.
Really?
Darnell Wright at 41, Joe Thuney at 44.
Well, then this clearly is more statistically based than it is. If you don't have Caleb Williams in the top 100,
yes,
that's a mistake.
It's a big mistake.
That's simply wrong.
Yeah, I'm gonna scroll through it for the 5th time just to make sure I am not missing the Bears logo at any of these numbers. 41, 44.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right to me. And that shows you where we're still having problems with what some of these numbers can do or can show, because that's just wrong. You can't have a top 100 list of value over average, and then the numbers haven't found a way to properly explain what Caleb Williams does and when he does it.
Brock Purdy, 89. Sam Darnold, 95.
Or maybe there's just a specific punishment he gets for end of game interceptions. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But I was, and I wasn't like looking to see him in the top 10 or anything like that, or I'm not being a Bears meatball and angry about it. I was really surprised that if you were going to lay out the top 100 players for the 2025 season and Caleb Williams not to be in the top 100,
yeah, that's wrong.
Whether I'm a Chicago fan or not, that is incorrect.
No, that's wrong. Like, some editor should look at that and just say, "Are you sure about this?" But again, it's value above average. So that's critical to remember, that it's not value above replacement. So I just wonder who would rank as their, like, the example of their average quarterback. Who was middle of the road?
In this exercise, we are measuring player value relative to average at respective positions. So we will almost certainly have quarterbacks at the very top. It is the highest leverage position.
Okay. And how many other quarterbacks total?
But also cannot have more than 16 on the list. So he doesn't have Caleb Williams in the top 16 quarterbacks if he were to put 16 on this list, which is insane.
That's just not true. You can't name 16 quarterbacks. But again, it's the question of would you rather have is different than based on last year's performance and last year's performance alone. But even so, that's a standard that should have Caleb Williams.
Right, and I'm not going to look at numbers. I'm going to watch the games.
Yeah, there must be just a lot of punishment for completion percentage being low.
Let's see. There's Drake May, Dak Prescott. That's 2. Stafford is 3. Allen is 4. Love is 5. Mahomes is 6. Herbert's 7. So that's 7 quarterbacks so far. Trevor Lawrence,
okay,
8. Jared Goff is 9. C.J. Stroud is 10. Bo Nix is 11. Daniel Jones is 12. Lamar Jackson is 13. This is just order of quarter. Baker Mayfield is 14. Yeah, and then that would have to go, I think, Brock Purdy would be 15. Yeah. And then
Darnold is 16.
Yeah, and then Sam Darnold's 16. You've got to be shitting me.
Yeah, well, that's that. Well, I think maybe the lesson is then that this is one of those examples, and I don't think this is homerism. I don't think this is just because of all of the Caleb Williams that we've watched. I just think that's wrong. I think that is in where we're really seeing a gap between how good the numbers say you are and how good your play actually says that you are. That's quite a thing.
Yeah, I don't get that at all.
I mean, this isn't taking anything away from Darnell Wright or Joe Thuney.
No, not at all. Absolutely not.
Okay.
But if you're going to go through this exercise with the top 100 MVP candidates for your ballot and Caleb Williams not to be in the top 100 that's ludicrous.
Let's also talk real quick about some of the job openings around the NFL and who's involved. I think it's looking increasingly like we're going to have Will Lawing, maybe even as offensive coordinator for the Bears. This was Ben Johnson's buddy from Boston College. He was the offensive coordinator at Boston College. He also played with Johnson at North Carolina. We talked about Will Lawing potentially replacing Eric Bieniemy at running backs coach, but now with the Eagles talking to Declan Doyle, maybe they're going to shuffle some things around on the offensive side of the ball. I know that OC under Ben Johnson doesn't mean as much, just like it doesn't under Andy Reid, because we know who's in charge, we know who's calling the plays, we know whose offense it is. But the whole point of having a young guy like Declan Doyle there professionally for Ben Johnson is to hope that he gets a job like this, to hope that you start building a tree and you get some of these guys promoted. And I think that nobody would be more supportive of that than Johnson if Declan Doyle were to get that Eagles job.
Yeah, and maybe that's what Ben Johnson realized was going to be happening, which is why he called on his buddy out at Boston College, Will Lawing, to come through, because we knew that the hire was made, just didn't know where he would fit within the staff. If it would be his running backs coach. If Declan Doyle were to leave, that might make sense that he would go there. We also learned that Al Harris had an interview with the Green Bay Packers as their defensive coordinator possibility. Mm-hmm. So we'll maybe see what happens there and then how the Bears fill that void as well. Because he was the defensive backs coach.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's all that's been up right now. Doyle and Harris, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, Bieniemy went back to KC.
There'll be
Matt
more.
Nagy's out there. I wonder if Matt Nagy can kind of come in, get a role somewhere on the staff.
I wouldn't object to him having a role on the staff, but he obviously wants much bigger than that. This is his next time to strike, I think. But what my takeaway right now, what's really kind of resonating with me is just how bad that Trapilo injury is, and for this Bears team to go into this season now with a glaring opening at left tackle that's got to be a very, very high priority, however they want to do it. And it's not going to be a rookie. It can't.
No, I think as of right now, as we're just talking through it, I think it is the number one priority going into next year. There is no way that Ben Johnson doesn't have that as the number one area to fill.
All right, so let me say this. If right now with this roster, we know what they did for the last game, but my first choice and I hate to do this, but before they make this move, at the moment, your left tackle would have to be Darnell Wright.
It would, but I don't want to do that.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, he's your starting right tackle. You address it with a new body. He's your starting right tackle. Let's not fuck around with. I mean, you have guard through right tackle is solid, and maybe barring any injury,
maybe more than solid. Maybe probably top 5 in the league.
Oh,
minimum.
Top 5 minimum. Top 3. Top 3 we could say. From left guard to right tackle, you are one of the best units in football. Let's not mess with that.
I agree.
We have an offseason now to find a left tackle. Address that. I think that has to be the number one priority. It has to be. It has to be. And cleaning up your offensive line, too, with backups as well. I mean, because for me, you cannot include Theo Benedict in that. You cannot. He was not good enough to play.
He wasn't good enough.
He was not good enough to play in the game on Sunday. Therefore, he shouldn't be part of this roster. He just shouldn't be. Because you can't tell me that, oh, no, we believe in him and, and he's developing and progressing and growing, and we're going to coach him up, we're going to work with him. You can't get to a game and then say, we have a need, we can't use the guy that's there to fill that need.
And this
we're going to adjust some things around.
And where this year started as a rebuild of a rebuild, it blew past that.
Right.
And now you're not there. You changed everything. The context of everything changed. And if it so happens there are guys on your roster that develop, that's great. But that's not it's not the game you're playing right now.
No, you're exactly right. And while one season doesn't build on the other and there is no momentum and you're starting from scratch, the context has changed. You're exactly right. It's no longer you're the NFC North champions. It's no longer let's go out and see what we can do, rah, rah, good, better, best. Defend the title of your division, do better in your division, get further in the playoffs. That's where you're at right now. And what does that mean? It means finding a left tackle that's going to be there for 17 games plus and is not only a solid player, but is going to grade out as one of the best left tackles in the game. That's where you're at. That's your priority right now. It has to be. I didn't think that going into the show, but that's where it has to be that. It has to, Dan. Like, you can look at the other roster issues, your unrestricted free agents, guys that may come and go, coaches that may leave. Your biggest gap right now on your championship roster is left tackle.
I think that's the takeaway from this edition of Forward Progress, a Chicago Bears podcast on 312 Sports.
Forward progress has stopped. 10, 219, 219.
Forward Progress, a Chicago Bears podcast with Dan Bernstein and Matt Abatacola on 312 Sports.